But what we want to do now, kind of as we transition out of our sharing about our take-home projects, although we're going to continue that for maybe just a little bit here, and into our end session here, I'll kind of workshop wrap up. Really just want to open it up to the floor for any sort of conversation about things you learned, successes you've had this week, challenges you're still experiencing with finding, accessing data, or developing your story with your data. And just want to open up the floor for conversation so that we can all kind of learn from each other in these last moments of our workshop. So this also goes for our online folks, so feel free to raise your hand and we can call on you as well to then just have this conversation.
I'll give others a chance, but I got one if no one else does. Going once, twice. So one thing we didn't really talk about in this workshop, and this is absolutely a challenge, is misinformation. And I was watching Matt's presentation, and I finally saw the name of the caterpillar train. That feature of degradation that you see where it's just a line where the scan didn't quite meet. So at COD, we had an RGB product that had that artifact in it in the same spot for a long time. Happened to be over California, and because most of our imagery is reprojected, it looks like it's coming in from the side. Because it was seen on a lot of our RGB products, the line appeared red. Next thing we know, we start seeing YouTube channels post videos talking about how it's space lasers starting wildfires in California, and I wish I was joking. So we had a really interesting mix of people writing into us. We had people writing in, how are you supporting weather modification like this? They're starting fires. And then we had another demographic of people who were asking us to clarify what's really going on. The most we would really clarify is that no, this is a function of bad data, and say a little blurb about that, and that would really be about it. But it brought up a really interesting conversation there, because we found that people were really wanting us to basically get into a debate. And we did absolutely not want to get into a debate on this kind of topic on any real kind of stage. You know, our role, we viewed it as more data availability, data presentation. Use the data how you need to use it after that. But this became kind of an interesting topic. So we really kind of kept quiet beyond like a very simplified technical explanation. But at its core, that was misinformation. So what happens when we start to encounter misinformation about one topic or another? How do we respond to that? That would absolutely be a challenge, and we didn't come up with this week.
Yeah, there's a comment in the chat from Pete, totally related to what Mike's talking about with misinformation. Every time I post a rooftop camera video of long-lived contrails, the chemtrail people kick in. Same with radar spikes on the radar composite maps. Yeah, misinformation.
And the topics rotate. There's heart brains, there's chemtrails, there's space lasers. I don't know what it's going to be next week, but it's going to be something new.
Great. Other folks' thoughts and feedback, just what you learned, something you're excited about, something you're excited to take home, share with others or get others excited about?
I really liked all the coding techniques that I learned, especially with machine learning, all the stuff I can do with X-array.
Yeah, great stuff. Others, yeah.
I really liked learning about CFX array this week because I'd never even used it before, and it's so helpful.
Yesterday.
Yeah, reduces barriers to science, right? Because of the complexities that our data have that we've been exposed to this week and just throughout our careers, right? How many times have you banged your head against a desk because of something about the data is either not well explained or you can't find metadata about it? Yeah, great.
Going back to data. Before we reconvened, three of us were sitting around here talking, and Kim was sharing her project with us, and she was using temperature data, the climatology data set, and it's a standard one that's easy to find and easy to work with. It's 2-meter temperature. And I was thinking about this, I'm like, for the application you're thinking about, would you want to use skin temperature? And she's like, well, that would be a really interesting question, but it would have to be a completely different data set, because it's just not available in this. And at that point, it would be a different workflow, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, what that made me think about is you don't have to start with the perfect data set for something that you're working on. If you have a question that you're trying to answer, it doesn't need to be a perfect answer at the onset. Maybe you just need to get the mental juices flowing, or maybe a simpler, easier data set to work with will prove the point for you anyways, or at least tell you that maybe you should rethink this.
Great points. Great points. How about anybody from our virtual setting? Anybody want to offer insights? I can wait with the best of them. Tanya?
I don't know if this comment was captured, but it said same with radar spikes on the radar composite maps.
Yep.
Yeah. Sunset spikes, sunrise and sunset spikes on radar mosaics. That's a fun one too.
Any other thoughts about your experiences this week and the things you've learned? Tom?
Maybe I'm drinking our own Kool-Aid too much, but it seems like we're coalescing, like X-ray seems like a fairly integral part around a lot of these things, or just the scientific, stack in general. We're improving these tools, but it's less so, there's 8 different ways to do this. There's more 2, and those 2 tools are getting better and better, and maybe one day it'll just be one. But who
Sure.
knows?
Yeah. No. Good points.
I think of Scott's comment when I hear that is because if we're seeing a decrease in the number of overlapping projects, I wonder if that's a sign of his message of, sometimes it's okay to let these things die. If there's another one that's better, maybe it's okay to let that take over.
Yeah, the challenge is working with the community to make that a reality
Right.
when humans don't like change for some reason. Do you like change?
I don't like change.
So, all right. Well, so we'll kind of move into our wrap up. I know online the link for the workshop survey.
Here's the second link. Apologies, I sent the wrong version in the initial link, so the second link.
Okay, use the second link for the Users Workshop survey. Take this moment right now to fill it out. You will also be getting this link via email at some point to fill out, because we really do want to hear about your feedback. So for the next triennial workshop or any other workshop we may do related to any of the topics you might have heard today or derivatives off of them, that we can make it even better the next time. So it'll always be great to get that. There was an additional piece here from Ward talking about how the sessions on Tuesday morning were fantastic. It was great to hear about the intersection of science and storytelling from a different perspective. A +1 from Drew, just telling the breakout group about how much I enjoyed those perspectives. It's definitely got me thinking differently about how some of my in-class assignments or projects could be reframed to be more purposeful, and really getting students from a very early age thinking about storytelling and understanding their audience, which I think would intersect with many of their other classes that they're writing and doing things for as well. Susan, thanks to Ward for yes. Thanks to Susan for that great series of presentations there. And really all of our presenters this week have been fantastic. But I can't conclude my speaking here without thanking my co-chairs that have been integral to making this particular Users Workshop a success. We had Alex Haberly and Kim working with me. So thank them. And then, of course, the fantastic Unidata staff, especially with Tanya and Nicole helping to lead and coordinate all of us, with the support of a whole cast of characters, including Doug and Inken for all our travel pieces. If you do have travel pieces later today, feel free to call Kane Travel and or loop Inken in if you have difficulties there as well. But they all have been fantastic in making sure that logistically this workshop has gone off without a hitch. So let's go ahead and thank them.
Take a moment for a round of applause for Kevin for making this happen.
And our AV technician.
Yes.
So, and thank you to the rest of the Unidata staff who has contributed so much to this week through being moderators and coaches and stuff, and just really hopefully getting to know you and you getting to know them, and knowing that they can absolutely be a resource around data and tools and all of these pieces we've been talking about this week to make your work and your colleagues' work more successful. So make sure you spread the good word of Unidata to your areas, to your networks, to make sure that then we can continue to utilize this vital resource. We have one more comment here in the chat that came in. Found it very interesting listening to how everyone got into their fields, especially the self-taught coding. Made me feel like if they can do it, I can too. That's absolutely true. So with that, any final parting comment from anybody online, virtually, or here in the room for this year's Triennial Workshop?
I just want to say, I feel like the theme of this workshop was very lived this week, in the sense of we were telling each other our stories about how we got into coding or learned how not to code, how many of us learn by example, and how we're literally learning from each other's examples day to day. Like, I'll just throw a random shout out to John for talking about facet plots. I have facet plots now, and it's game changing for real quick looks. Thank you for that. But like, everyone was talking about examples, and even if your example isn't perfect, just think about how someone else could learn from that because you shared it. So I hope we're all a little less afraid of sharing our examples, because look how much we can learn when we have the opportunity to share.
And to follow on to that excellent point, keep sharing after the workshop with your colleagues, with your nerdy friends, your coding buddies. Keep sharing, even after this one project that you're working on. Collaboration helps in so many ways.
Very true. Well, thank you all so much for taking the time, both virtually and here in person, for participating this week. It's been a busy a little bit more than 3.5 days. Wish you all the safest travels to wherever you are headed next. Hopefully a rejuvenating rest of your summer, accomplishing those things that you desire. And for those of you who are looking to get back to the Hilton Garden Inn, the bus will be leaving at 2:30, so feel free to stick around and continue to chat and collaborate here, but do make your way out for the bus at 2:30 if you wish to do that and not walk back to the Hilton Garden Inn. Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week.